Today, Abel was supposed to wear his wedding suit again and laughed at how tight the sleeves were. Instead, a hospital machine kept making one cold sound. Abel lay on a white bed in the emergency ward at Lagos University Teaching Hospital at Idi Araba, with tubes around him and a bandage on his head. His chest rose. Then it struggled. Benjamin, tall, clean, in a sharp black shirt, stood at the foot of the bed like a statue. His eyes were red. He looked like someone who had money but could not buy the one thing he needed at that moment. Madame Eunice held Abel's hand with both of hers. Her fingers trembled. "Abel," she whispered, "my son, please open your eyes." She called him my son now because that was what he had become to her. By kindness, by destiny, by everything that happened after one small decision on a dusty road. A nurse rushed in, a doctor followed. "Madam, please step back," the doctor said gently. Madame Eunice did not move. Her eyes were open, fully open, seeing the hospital light, seeing doctors, seeing fear on Benjamin's face. But she was not looking at any of them. She was staring at Abel's face, like she could command him to wake up with her eyes alone. Then Abel's fingers squeezed hers, just once, her breath caught. Benjamin leaned forward. "Abel, Abel, can you hear me?" Abel's lips moved. No sound came out at first. Then slowly, like a candle trying not to go out, Abel whispered, "Tell, Mama, I did not waste her." His eyes fluttered. Madame Eunice bent close, tears dropping on his hand. "What are you saying? You will not die, Abel. You will not." Abel tried to breathe again. He really tried, but the monitor suddenly screamed, "Babe!" Doctors pushed forward. Benjamin shouted, "No, please." Madame Eunice held Abel tighter, refusing to let go as the world around her turned into shouting, rushing feet, and panic. And right there, right inside her hands, Abel's body went still. Madame Eunice screamed one long cry that did not sound like a human voice anymore. It sounded like a mother losing her child for the second time. As Madame Eunice cried, a nurse quickly pulled Benjamin aside and whispered something that made his face freeze. Benjamin asked, "Are you sure?" The nurse nodded. Benjamin's mouth opened, but no words came out. Because what the nurse was about to reveal was something that could change everything Abel thought he knew about his life. 4 months earlier, before hospital machines, before wedding plans, before millions of naira and new houses and new hope, Abel's life was simple, not easy. Just simple. He lived in Agege, Lagos, in a one-room face-me-I-face-you building, where the walls had cracks like old scars and the ceiling fan made a tired noise whenever light came. He slept on a thin mattress. Sometimes the foam would bite his back. When it rained, water entered through the window and formed a small puddle near his slippers. But Abel did not complain too much, not because he did not feel pain, because he had learned early that complaining does not fill an empty stomach. Abel was 28, dark-skinned, slim, with strong arms from carrying blocks and cement bags at a construction site in Ogba. His palms were hard like sandpaper. His shirt was usually dusty. Even his eyelashes sometimes looked dusty. People in the area called him that orphan boy. He did not like the name, but he did not fight anyone. Because fighting does not bring back parents. His mother died when he was 15. Fever took her fast, so fast that Abel still remembered her voice calling him one night and then being silent the next morning. His father? Abel never knew his father. His mother never talked about him. Anytime Abel asked, her eyes would go far away, like she was looking at a pain she didn't want to remember. So Abel grew up with one big hole in his life, and one small gift, kindness. It was the last thing his mother told him before she died. She held his wrist weakly and said, "Abel, if you have only one bread, share half. God sees." He never forgot. Even when he did not have enough for himself, Abel still tried to help when he could. Not because he was foolish, because he was stubbornly human. That day, Abel finished work late. A supervisor had shouted at them all afternoon because a client came to inspect the building. "Faster, faster! Do you think cement dries with prayer?" the supervisor barked. Abel's shoulders ached. His stomach was empty. All he wanted was to reach home, drink water, and sleep. He took the long road through a dusty community street close to Abule Egba because it was cheaper than taking a second bus. The sun was still bright, but it was lowering, the kind of light that makes the dust in the air shine. As Abel walked, he heard laughter ahead. Not normal laughter, the type that has sharp teeth inside it. He slowed down. Then he saw them. An old woman stood on the roadside with a walking stick. She was blind. It was clear. Her eyes were cloudy and fixed. Tears ran down her cheeks. She wore a torn brown gown, old and tired, like she had been wearing it for too long. Her grey hair was scattered around her face. Her feet were dusty. Her hand trembled around her stick. She looked like someone the world had forgotten. 3 women stood behind her, laughing and pointing. "Old witch," one of them said, snapping her fingers near the woman's ear. Mama, if you are blind, why are you outside? You want to fall inside gutter?" Another one laughed. The third woman laughed the loudest. "She's pretending. These people pretend blindness to collect money. Look at her tears. Movie tears." The old woman's lips shook. "My daughters, please, I only want to go home. Somebody should show me the way." But the women only laughed more. Abel's chest tightened. He remembered his mother. Not blind, but sick, weak, trembling. He remembered how people avoided them because sickness made people uncomfortable. He stopped walking. For a second he argued with himself. If you talk, they will insult you too. If you step in, they may fight you. And you're already tired. Then another voice inside him said, "If you pass like this, you will regret it tonight." So Abel walked forward. The 3 women noticed him and rolled their eyes. "One more hero has come," one of them hissed. Abel did not answer them. He went straight to the old woman and spoke softly, like he did not want to scare her. "Mama," he said, "where is your house?" The woman turned her head toward his voice quickly. Her face was wet with tears and dust. She swallowed. "My son, thank you. My house is behind the old primary school. There is a mango tree near the fence. The house has a small blue gate." Abel nodded. He did not ask more questions. He simply held her hand. The old woman's fingers were thin, but her grip was strong, like someone who had learned to hold on to life tightly. Abel spoke loudly enough for the mocking women to hear. "It's okay, Mama. I will take you home." One of the women scoffed. "As you like. Carry her and go. You think you're doing pastor work?" Another one laughed. "Hope she won't carry you to witch meeting." Abel ignored them, but inside he felt the sting. Not because he feared their words, because he knew words could push people into darkness if they were already weak. So he held the old woman's hand tighter and walked, step by step, slowly. He guided her around potholes, around stones, away from a gutter that smelled like old water. "Small step, Mama," he said. "Okay, good. Now lift your leg." The woman nodded like a child being taught. As they walked, Abel noticed how people looked at them. Some stared, some whispered, some laughed quietly. A little boy even pointed and said, "See, old blind woman." His mother slapped his hand gently. "Don't point," she warned, but her voice lacked power. That was how the world was. People corrected evil softly, like they didn't want to disturb it. They finally reached the place, a small compound, cracked walls, a blue gate, faded like old jeans, a mango tree inside dropping dry leaves. Abel helped her enter. The woman touched the wall like she was greeting her house. "My home," she whispered, and breathed out like she had been holding her breath the whole time. Abel smiled. "Mama, you're safe now." He tried to leave quickly, but the woman turned and stretched her hand out, searching. "My son," she said, "please wait." Abel paused. "Yes, Mama?" She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "What is your name?" "Abel." "Where do you live?" Abel hesitated. In Lagos, some people asked questions for bad reasons. Abel had learned to be careful, but something about the woman's voice did not feel like danger. It felt like memory. He answered, "I live in Agege, off Old Otter Road. Face me, I face you building near the vulcanizer shop." The woman repeated it slowly, like she was saving it in her mind. "Agege, off Old Otter Road, near vulcanizer." Abel shifted. "Mama, are you okay? Do you have anyone with you?" The woman's shoulders dropped. "No," she said quietly. "It is only me." Abel's heart pinched. He looked around. The house was too quiet. No radio, no voices. Just loneliness, sitting in the corners. Abel dug into his pocket and brought out what he had left. One meat pie he planned to eat on the road, already warm and soft from the heat. "Mama," he said, putting it in her hand. "Please eat this." The old woman's fingers touched it and froze. "My son," she whispered, voice breaking, "God will remember you." Abel laughed awkwardly, embarrassed by praise. "It's nothing," he said, but the woman shook her head slowly. "No," she said firmly. "It is something." Then she raised her hand and touched Abel's face. Her palm was rough, warm. She touched his cheekbones, then his forehead, then his chin, like she was trying to see him with her hands. Abel stood still. He did not know why his eyes suddenly burned. The woman's lips moved. She said something under her breath, like a prayer, like a promise. Then she smiled through her tears. "I am Madame Eunice," she said. "I will not forget you, Abel." Abel swallowed hard. He simply nodded. "Thank you, Mama. I have to go." He turned to leave. But as he stepped out of the compound, he felt a strange chill, even though the sun was still hot. He glanced back once. Madame Eunice was still standing at the door, holding the meat pie like it was gold. Her face looked familiar, not like someone he knew, like someone he had dreamed about long ago. Abel shook the thought away and walked off, because Abel did not know that his kindness had just entered a story, bigger than him. That night, Abel reached home tired. He poured water on his face, ate a Gary with ground nut. His neighbor, a loud man named Kunle, shouted from next door, "Abel, you no go marry. You go just day work, work, work." Abel forced a laugh. One day, he lay down, but sleep did not come quickly. His mind kept returning to the old woman's tears, her shaking voice, the way the three women laughed like it was fun to break someone. Abel stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Mama, if you're watching me." I tried today. Outside, Lagos was noisy as usual. Generator sounds, distant music, a dog barking. Abel finally slept. The next morning, Abel woke early and rushed to work again. He did not know what was happening in Madame Eunice's compound. He did not see the dust rising outside her gate. He did not hear the sound that made neighbors run out in shock. Because that morning, an expensive SUV, black, shining like a mirror, drove into the street and stopped at Madame Eunice's gate. People gathered. Who is that? Is it politician? Maybe it's one of those rich men that do empowerment. Then the driver came down. A man stepped out. He wore a sharp suit. His shoes looked like they had never touched dust. His face was tight with emotion, like he had been holding tears for many years. He walked to the gate slowly, as if afraid the house would disappear if he moved too fast. He knocked. "Madame Eunice," he said, "it's me." Inside, Madame Eunice sat on her old chair, holding her walking stick. She heard the voice and froze. Her lips parted. Her whole body shook. "My God," she whispered. "That voice." The gate opened, and the man dropped to his knees on the dusty ground like a child. "Mummy," he cried, voice breaking, "it's Benjamin." Madame Eunice's walking stick fell from her hand, her arms stretched out in the air, searching blindly, desperately. "Benjamin," she cried, my son that they told me is dead." Benjamin crawled closer on his knees and held her legs like he was afraid she would push him away. "I was never dead," he sobbed. "I followed a friend. I traveled abroad. I was foolish, but God kept me. God made me somebody. I came back for you, Mummy. I came back." Madame Eunice's hands touched his head. She pressed her palms into his hair, then his face, then his shoulders. She sobbed like her chest would tear. She kept touching him, as if she could smell how he looked now. My son, she repeated. Neighbors watched, shocked. Some people covered their mouths. Some people whispered, "So she had a son all this time?" Benjamin looked up, tears shining. "And Mummy," he said, wiping his face, "someone helped you yesterday. Someone led you home." Madame Eunice nodded hard. "Yes," she cried, Abel helped me." Benjamin's eyes narrowed with focus. "Abel," he repeated, What is his full name? Where does he live? Madame Eunice gripped his suit sleeve. Agege, she said quickly, off Old Otter Road. Face me, I face you, near Vulcanizer. Benjamin stood up sharply, like a man who just received a mission. He turned to his driver. Write it down, he ordered, voice firm. We will find him. Then he turned back to his mother, soft again. Mummy, he said gently, you are coming with me. To the United Kingdom. You will do surgery. You will see again. Madame Eunice trembled. See, she whispered. Me? See again? Benjamin nodded. Yes. And for the first time in years, Madame Eunice smiled, not the kind of smile that pretends. A real one. But deep inside her, a fear still lived. What if this joy is too big? What if it breaks? That evening, as Benjamin packed Madame Eunice's things, a neighbor, one of the same women who mocked her yesterday, walked closer and hissed under her breath. So she has a billionaire son. Her eyes turned dark, and she whispered something that made another woman beside her gasp. Find that Abel boy, she said quietly, before Benjamin finds him first. Because some people don't get happy when they see goodness rewarded. They get jealous, they get desperate. And that night, as Abel slept in his small room in Agege, unaware that his life was already changing, a shadow stopped outside his door, and the shadow raised a hand to knock. Kapam. 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 Abel opened his eyes sharply. His heart began to race. Who is that? He called, voice tight. But the person outside did not answer. They only knocked again, slower this time. Keepam. 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 And Abel realized something was wrong, very wrong, because nobody visits him at night. Commentary, lessons, and character psychology. Human-sounding, Abel's kindness is not storybook kindness. It's the kind that costs you something. He was tired, hungry. He could have passed, but he didn't. That choice shows a strong heart shaped by pain, not comfort. Madame Eunice is not just a blind woman. She's a mother carrying 20 years of grief in her body. That's why she touched Abel's face like that. Her world is made of sound, touch, and memory. She recognizes goodness like someone who has been starving for it. And those women mocking her, that's real life too. People laugh at what scares them. They laugh at weakness because they think it will never be them. But life has a way of humbling proud mouths. The knock came again. Kapam. 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 Abel sat up on his thin mattress, his heart beating faster than normal. His room was dark, except for the small moonlight squeezing in through the broken window. Who is that? He asked again, louder this time. No answer, only silence. Then footsteps. Light ones, like someone was thinking twice. Abel slid his feet into his rubber slippers and stood slowly. His hands were shaking, not because he was weak, but because night knocks were. Never good news in his part of Lagos. Landlords came with police at night. Area boys came at night. Bad news always preferred darkness. He reached the door and placed his ear against it. He heard breathing. Then a voice, low and controlled. Abel, please don't shout. Abel froze. Who are you? He whispered back. It's me, the voice said. My name is Benjamin. I'm looking for you because of my mother. Abel's brows pulled together. Mother. He unlocked the door just a little and peeked out. What he saw confused him. A tall man stood there in clean clothes that looked too expensive for the corridor they were standing in. A black SUV was parked a little distance away, its headlights off, but its presence loud. The man's eyes were red, not drunk red, crying red. Are you Abel? The man asked again, softer now. Yes, Abel said slowly, but what do you want from me? Benjamin exhaled deeply, like someone releasing years of weight. My mother is Madame Eunice, he said. Abel's chest tightened. The blind woman? He asked without thinking. Benjamin nodded. She was blind. Abel opened the door fully now. What happened to her? He asked quickly. Is she okay? Benjamin's face changed. His lips trembled, then curved upward. She's alive, he said, and she's safe, because of you. Abel leaned against the wall without meaning to. Benjamin continued, his voice breaking in places. I came back to Nigeria yesterday after 20 years. People told my mother I was dead. But I wasn't. I was just foolish. I chased money. I forgot home. He swallowed. When I found her yesterday, she told me everything. About how people mocked her, about how she cried on the road, about how one young man stopped, held her hand, and took her home. Benjamin looked straight at Abel. She never forgets names. Even blind, she doesn't forget kindness. Abel felt his throat tighten. I only helped her, he said quietly. Anybody would have done the same. Benjamin shook his head slowly. No, he said. Most people didn't. They stood there in silence. Then Benjamin said something Abel never expected. Please, he said, come with me. Abel blinked. Come. Where? To see my mother, Benjamin replied. She's leaving Nigeria tomorrow. She begged me not to go without seeing you. Abel hesitated. This was moving too fast, too strange. His life didn't work like this. I have work tomorrow, Abel said weakly. Benjamin smiled sadly. So did I once, but some moments are bigger than work. He paused. And Abel, my mother wants to thank you properly. Abel looked around his room, the cracked wall, the hanging shirt, the empty bucket. Then he nodded. Okay, he said. Abel had never sat inside a car like that before. The seats were soft, the air smelled clean. The road lights reflected on the shiny dashboard. He sat stiffly, afraid to dirty something. Benjamin watched him quietly. You don't have to be tense, Benjamin said. Relax. Abel gave a small laugh. This is not my normal world. Benjamin nodded slowly. It used to be mine too. They drove through Lagos streets that Abel only saw from afar. Quiet roads, tall fences, bright security lights. Finally, the SUV stopped in front of a compound with guards. Abel's heart dropped. What if this is a mistake? Benjamin stepped out and opened the door for him. Come, he said. Inside the house, Madame Eunice sat on a couch, holding her walking stick even though she didn't need it at that moment. The moment Abel entered, she lifted her head. Abel? She called. Yes, Mama, he answered, surprised. She smiled widely. My son, she cried. She stood up and walked toward him carefully but confidently. Abel rushed forward to support her, but she waved him off. I can walk, she said proudly. Then she reached him and hugged him. Tightly. Abel froze. No one had hugged him like that since his mother died. She cried into his shoulder. This is the boy, she told Benjamin. This is the one God used. Abel felt his eyes sting. Mama, I didn't do much, he whispered. She pulled back and held his face with both hands, this time with open eyes. She gasped softly. So this is how you look, she said, smiling through tears. You look like a good heart. Benjamin turned away quietly, wiping his face. They sat together. Madame Eunice told Abel everything, about Benjamin, about the trip to the United Kingdom, about the surgery that would restore her sight fully. Then Benjamin spoke. Abel, he said carefully, you helped my mother when the world laughed at her. I cannot pretend it didn't matter. Abel shook his head quickly. Sir, please. Benjamin raised his hand gently. Let me finish, he said. I want to help you too. Abel laughed nervously. I don't need help. I'm okay. Benjamin studied him. That's exactly why I want to help you, he said. Madame Eunice placed her hand on Abel's knee. Let him help you, she said softly. You did not reject me when I was nothing. Abel swallowed hard. Benjamin continued, I'll be back from London in a few weeks. When I return, we'll talk properly. Abel nodded, overwhelmed. The next morning, the SUV left the compound with Madame Eunice inside, heading to the airport. She waved from the window. Abel, she called, wait for me. Abel waved back, smiling. He did not know why his chest felt heavy. 2 weeks later, Benjamin returned. And Abel's life began to move faster than his heart could follow. Benjamin bought Abel a small but clean house, not far from where he used to live, but worlds apart from his old room. Then came the shop, a real shop, large, painted fresh, with a signboard that read, Abel stood inside it one afternoon, staring at the walls like they might disappear. This is too much, he whispered. Benjamin smiled. It's just the beginning. Abel worked like he always had. Hard, honest, focused. Months passed, the business grew, cashew bags piled up, phones rang, money came. Abel did not become proud. He still greeted people well, still helped quietly. People who once ignored him now called him Chairman Abel. But Abel remembered the dusty road, the blind woman, the hand he held. Then, one evening, as Abel sat with Benjamin and Madame Eunice discussing wedding plans, Abel was to marry a kind woman named Zainab, who loved him before the money. Madame Eunice suddenly went quiet. She held her chest. "Abel," she said slowly, eyes fixed on him, "promise me something." "Yes, Mama?" Abel asked. "No matter how high you rise," she said, "never forget the day you stopped on that road." Abel smiled. "I promise." But outside the house, a man watched from a distance, the same mocking woman's brother. And he made a phone call. "Things have changed," he said quietly, "but not everyone is happy." That night, Abel drove home alone for the first time in weeks. The road was dark. A truck appeared suddenly from nowhere. Headlights blinded him. Abel turned the steering hard, and the world flipped. Glass shattered, metal screamed, and everything went black. Abel did not feel pain at first. He felt nothing. Not the broken glass, not the twisted metal, not the blood running down his temple. Only darkness. Voices came and went like echoes underwater. Pulses weak. "Call emergency." "Careful with his neck." Then everything disappeared again. When Abel opened his eyes, just a little, the ceiling was white and blurry. A strange smell filled his nose. His mouth felt dry, like he had swallowed sand. He tried to move. He couldn't. Fear rushed into him. "Mama," he tried to say, but no sound came out. Machines beeped beside him, steady but cold. Abel slipped, back into darkness. At Luth, Idi Araba, doctors worked fast. Benjamin arrived before anyone finished explaining. His suit was gone. He wore a plain shirt. His hands shook as he signed papers without reading them. "Is he alive?" was the only thing he kept asking. "Yes," the doctor said carefully, "but he is in a coma. The head injury is serious. The next few days will tell us everything." Benjamin nodded slowly. "The next few days." That sentence sat on his chest like a stone. Madame Eunice arrived in the evening. She walked into the ward with steady steps, eyes open, seeing everything clearly now. But when she saw Abel lying there, still and quiet, her knees almost failed her. She rushed to his bedside and held his hand. "Abel," she whispered, "my son, open your eyes." Nothing. Her chest rose sharply. "This is my fault," she said suddenly, voice shaking. "If I didn't insist on all this joy, maybe—" Benjamin held her shoulders gently. "No. Mummy," he said, "don't do this to yourself." But inside, even Benjamin was afraid, because life had a cruel way of collecting debts right when happiness felt complete. Days passed. 1, 2, 5. Abel did not wake up. Zainab came every morning. She talked to him softly, told him about wedding plans they would finish later, laughed gently like he could hear. But every night she cried in the bathroom where nobody could see. On the 7th day, a doctor pulled Benjamin aside. "There's swelling in the brain," he said. "If he doesn't respond soon—" He did not finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Madame Eunice stayed by Abel's side. She did not sleep much. She told him stories. About the day they met. About how his hand felt strong when he guided her. About how kindness saved her life and his. "Abel," she whispered one night, tears dropping on his fingers, "if you wake up, I will spend the rest of my life thanking God for you." Abel's fingers twitched just once. Madame Eunice froze. "Did you see that?" she asked, breathless. Benjamin leaned closer. Nothing happened again. Hope rose, then fell. On the 9th day, rain fell heavily outside the hospital. Madame Eunice prayed quietly. Benjamin stared at the monitor. Zainab held her breath. Then Abel's heartbeat slowed. The machine beeped differently. Nurses rushed in. Doctors followed. "Step back," someone shouted. Madame Eunice refused to move. She held Abel's hand tighter. "My son," she cried, "don't leave me again." Abel's lips moved slightly. A sound tried to come out. The room went silent. Everyone leaned in. and Abel whispered something that made Madame Eunice gasp. Because he didn't call her Mama Eunice. He called her something else, something nobody expected. The room froze. The rain outside the hospital windows beat harder, like it was listening. Madame Eunice bent closer to Abel's lips, her heart pounding so loudly she could hear it in her ears. "What did you say?" she whispered. Abel's eyes were still closed. His breath was shallow, but his lips moved again. "Mama. Adama." Madame Eunice gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Benjamin stepped forward sharply. "What name did he say?" Madame Eunice's knees weakened. She sat down slowly on the chair beside the bed. "Adama," she repeated, barely above a whisper. "That was my name. Before I married." Benjamin stared at Abel like he was seeing him for the first time. That name was not written anywhere. That name was not public. That name belonged to a life Madame Eunice buried decades ago. "How could he know?" Benjamin asked, his voice unsteady. No one answered, because there was no simple answer. The doctor cleared his throat. "Sometimes patients in coma speak from deep memory. It doesn't always mean—" Madame Eunice shook her head. "No," she said firmly. "This is not chance." She held Abel's hand again. "Abel," she said, softly, "look at me." Her voice cracked. "If you can hear me, fight." Abel's chest rose slowly, then his eyes fluttered. Once, twice. Everyone held their breath. Abel opened his eyes, just a little. Tears streamed down Madame Eunice's face as she laughed and cried at the same time. "He's awake," Benjamin whispered. "He's awake." But the joy did not last long. Abel's eyes were confused, lost. He tried to speak, but pain crossed his face sharply. The doctor stepped in quickly. "Careful," he said. "He's awake, yes, but his condition is unstable." Abel turned his eyes weakly toward Madame Eunice. His lips moved. "Mama, I'm tired." Her heart broke. "Rest," she said quickly. "Just rest." That night Benjamin could not sleep. The name Adama kept ringing in his head. He went back to his mother's room. "Mummy," he said quietly, "tell me the truth." Madame Eunice sat on the bed holding her rosary. "There are things you never told me," Benjamin continued. "Things about the past." Madame Eunice closed her eyes. A long silence followed. Then she spoke. "Before I met your father, there was another man." Benjamin stiffened. "I was young," she said. "Poor, afraid. I got pregnant." Benjamin's breath caught. "I gave birth to a boy," Madame Eunice whispered, "but I was told the child died." Benjamin's heart pounded. "That boy's name," she paused, tears falling, "was Abel." Benjamin staggered back like someone had pushed him. "No," he said, "that's impossible." Madame Eunice looked up at him, eyes filled with pain. "The hospital lied," she said, "or someone paid them. I never saw the body." Benjamin's mind raced. The age matched, the timing matched, the kindness, the familiar pull. Benjamin covered his mouth. "Then Abel is my—" Madame Eunice shook her head gently. "I don't know," she said, "but God is revealing something." The next morning, Abel slept deeply again. Doctors warned everyone to stay calm, but outside the ward, Benjamin made a phone call. "Run a DNA test," he said firmly, quietly. He looked through the glass at Abel's still body. "If this is true," he whispered, "then destiny has been playing with us all along." That afternoon, as the nurse prepared to take Abel for a scan, his heart rate dropped suddenly. The machine alarm screamed. Doctors rushed in again. Madame Eunice grabbed Benjamin's arm. "Not again," she cried. "God, please, not again." And as they fought to stabilize Abel, Benjamin's phone vibrated in his pocket. A message flashed on the screen, "DNA results ready." The machine screamed again. Doctors moved fast, too fast. "Clear the way." "Get oxygen now. His pressure is dropping." Madame Eunice held Abel's hand like she could anchor his soul to his body. "Abel," she cried, voice breaking, "don't leave me. Please. I already lost you once." Benjamin stood frozen, the phone shaking in his hand. "DNA results ready." The screen felt heavier than a stone. He opened it. His breath left him. The result was clear, painfully clear. Match confirmed, maternal relationship, Yes, Abel was her son, not by kindness, not by destiny alone, by blood. Benjamin's knees buckled. He leaned against the wall to stop himself from falling. All this time, he whispered, all this time. Inside the ward, Abel's chest rose weakly. Then it stopped. The long, straight sound filled the room. B! No, Benjamin shouted, rushing forward. Doctors worked. Shock paddles, commands, sweat. Madame Eunice refused to step back. She bent over Abel, pressing her forehead to his. My son, she whispered, tears soaking the sheets. If love can hold you here, stay. If not, rest. For a moment, just one, Abel's fingers moved, his lips parted. Mama, he breathed. I found you. A soft smile touched his face, and then he was gone. Silence fell like a heavy cloth. Madame Eunice screamed, not loud, not wild, but deep, the kind of cry that comes from the place where life breaks. Benjamin knelt beside the bed, tears falling freely. I'm sorry, he whispered to Abel's still body. I came too late. Abel was buried quietly. No cameras, no loud speeches, just tears, prayers, and a truth that burned. Madame Eunice did not collapse. She aged in one day. But she stood tall at the grave. He saved me, she told those who came, so God allowed me to find him, even if it was only for a short time. Zainab wept like she lost her future. Benjamin funded Abel's cashew business foundation in his name, helping young orphans start honest work. Every year, on Abel's birthday, Madame Eunice sat under the mango tree in her old compound, the same place kindness began. This story teaches something painful and true. Kindness does not always protect you from loss, but it always gives your life meaning. Abel didn't help Madame Eunice to gain anything. He helped because he remembered his mother, because his heart was still soft in a hard world. And even though his life ended too soon, it was not wasted. He healed a mother's blindness. He reunited a broken family. He proved that goodness is not foolish. It is powerful. Madame Eunice learned that miracles don't always come the way we expect. Sometimes they come and leave. Benjamin learned that success means nothing if love is delayed. And Abel showed us that one small decision on a dusty road can echo forever. So the question this story leaves you with is simple. If today was your only chance to choose kindness, would you stop or would you walk past? If you like this story, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.